We are in the midst of Climate Week on the planet. Friday, millions, maybe billions, participated in a climate strike to raise awareness of the state of our planet and call for action. How timely that our source book this month is Spiritual Ecology, the Cry of the Earth. A series of essays by mystics from various spiritual traditions on the topic of restoring our planet's ecology through a spiritual awakening. Sufi teacher Llewellyn Vaughan Lee is the editor. In this book, Thich Nhat Hanh writes, "The bells of mindfulness are calling out to us, trying to wake us up." I'm getting there. Reminding us to look deeply at our impact on the planet. We need a collective awakening. There are men and women who are awakened, but most people are still sleeping. We don't have to sink into despair about global warming. We can act. Urgent action must be taken at the individual and collective levels. It is time for each of us to wake up and take action in our own lives. We have the power to decide the destiny of our planet. Wow. If we awaken to our true situation, there will be a change in our collective consciousness. We have to do something to wake people up who are living in a dream. Mindfulness is at the heart of awakening, of enlightenment. Please affirm with me with conviction. I recognize that Mother Earth is a sacred creation of God. It is our common home. Therefore, I let go of apathy, overconsumption, and other attitudes that harm the planet. I choose thoughts, words, and actions that lead to ecological renewal and sustainability. Thank you for your patience.
There's no better sound in the whole world, in my opinion.
I know.
Happy babies are the best.
The bells are ringing. I love that imagery by Thich Nhat Hanh. So as I read this, all over the earth, we as a human family, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the mineral kingdoms are experiencing floods, droughts, and massive wildfires. Sea ice is melting in the Arctic. Hurricanes and heat waves are killing thousands, resulting in mass migration and refugee crisis. The forests are disappearing. The deserts are growing. Species are becoming extinct every day. And yet we continue to consume, ignoring what Thich Nhat Hanh said, the ringing bells of the planet, the signs that are being given us that we have gotten off course. And just as the Zen Buddhists use the tingshas or the bells to call their students back to the present moment, back to the place of ultimate reality, we too are being called back into alignment with who we are in truth. So one of the things about this, our spiritual tradition, is that we don't deny that these things are happening, but we deny the power of the condition, meaning that we deny that it has to stay that way. Because what we do is when we step into our truth and into alignment with who we are, we realize that we are powerful co-creators of our lives and of our planet. What I have always loved about this spiritual tradition is the optimism and the intention to use the powers that are given us by the divine, creative powers of the mind, of vision, to continue to pull us forward and to inform our actions. And again, how timely that we are doing this. We are focusing on this when we are in the midst of Climate Week. When on Friday, inspired by a 16-year-old Swedish girl by the name of Greta, I don't remember her last name, but I did see some of the videos of the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that gathered all over the world. I think there were something like 14 or 1,500 events. And mostly kids. It just reminds me of how often our youth lead the way on these kinds of issues and help to wake us up. So I'm knowing that we are all awake, that we're all aware, and that we're all practicing mindfulness of our actions. So what I want to share with you is a beautiful poem by Rumi. I love Rumi and how timely his poetry is. So he speaks to our way out of this as the way in. We talked about mindfulness. The way in is the way out. I love that idea. I think coined by Ricky Byers-Beckwith in one of her songs, the way in is the way out. So Rumi says, sit, be still, and listen, for you are drunk, and we are at the edge of the roof. I'm going to read that again. Sit, be still, and listen, for you are drunk, and we are at the edge of the roof. Since ancient times, Indigenous people have maintained a sacred relationship with the earth, a real communion with the earth, through their ceremonies, through their philosophy, through their whole perspective of life. And so they lived in harmony, and they still live in harmony in many parts of the world with the planet, understanding that cycle of giving and receiving that's required in order to live in harmony. So they have been our way showers for quite some time, and have been the ones who have spoken out a long time ago when things were, when the littering and all of that was really getting out of control. So I really do want to honor the Indigenous people. But I also know that this real communion with the earth is a natural state for us, and all we need to do is watch the little children. Have you ever noticed how little children love all the animals? And that's why they have all their little stuffed animals. But every animal they see, they get so excited about it. And every plant or flower, it's the same thing. It's like, they get all excited. We have a natural tendency to want and desire and to be in real communion with the earth, so that there's the draw of the outdoors that draws us, that calls us to come out and commune with nature. And I think about that. I grew up in South Florida, so I was outside all the time. And we were at the ocean a lot, and I just remember the joy of it all. And the days of camping, when our family used to camp outdoors, being out in nature. And now it's walks in nature and biking in nature. There's still ways to stay in tune that I think is really important. So what happened then that we began to treat the natural world so poorly? Well, one of the articles that's in the book, Spiritual Ecology, The Cry of the Earth, is by two scientists. And they talk about the divided mind and its consequences. Albert Einstein speaks to this. Albert Einstein, he has a lot of spiritual stuff that in his works. He says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a world that honors the servant, but has forgotten the gift. In other words, we've put the rational mind in charge to the detriment of the intuitive mind, which is our spirit self. So in Western society, we are under the influence of the servant, what's supposed to be the servant, which is the rational mind, and it's seated in the left brain. So we become left, kind of out of balance. Our left brain has been kind of in charge of things. And we can trace it back to the advent of Newtonian science and the Industrial Revolution. And so it literally did replace the intuitive, the right brain seat of intuition, empathy, relationship, and creativity. That part of us that relishes and enjoys communion with the earth and with all living things. The left brain dominance has led to a focus on profit by way of growth economy, advertising, and consumerism. And we have gotten caught up in that paradigm or that optical delusion of the ego. It's the optical delusion of the ego. That's another term coined by Albert Einstein. So because of this perspective and because it's so intoxicating, we're standing at the edge of the roof. We're standing at the edge of the roof. And we have an opportunity to really look at what's going on and find our way out. So in spiritual terms, the left brain then is the egoic self, the optical delusion of separateness, following a self-destructive path. But this does not have to be. We know this. Our planetary crisis is an opportunity to shift from ego to our essence, to our essential selves, to our intuitive selves, by retraining the ego to have a more inclusive identity and also to serve the spirit essence of who we are. Retraining the ego to have a more inclusive identity. I love that. So I want to go on to explain that in a few minutes. Meditation is the key, is one of the key tools. We have other tools. We have visioning and we have spiritual mind treatment, a form of affirmative prayer. But today I want to focus on meditation as a way to facilitate the shift. Because this is what meditation does, and this is where the science comes in, and I love the intersection between spirituality and science. It's one of my loves. Is what they've studied is the scientists have found when they put the electrodes on the brain while someone is meditating, is that it creates neural pathways between the two hemispheres of the brain so that they are communicating. So it strengthens, it integrates the brain to function as one integral whole. And that means then that we have more, I love, this is Jean Houston, we have more burners to cook on. We have more available to us. The true essence of us that uses the interface of the brain to interface with this world is now able to function on a higher level. And also what happens as we continue to meditate is there's a greater organization that takes place that they can see happening as the brain lights up and then reorganizes at a higher level. Meditation is an amazing, amazing thing. We've known this for millennia, but to actually see it, I've seen some pictures of it, of what happens when there's like a breakthrough in consciousness when somebody's meditating and everything lights up and everything reorganizes on a higher level, a higher vibration. We talk about moving up the scale of consciousness and moving up the scale of vibration as well. So to me, this is so exciting that there is something that we can do, and it begins within. It begins by a commitment to daily meditating. And some of you out there may be new at it. Many of us have done it for quite a while. But if you're new at it, there's so much on the internet that can support you. And there are also there are classes that we have here, and we have practitioners to assist you as well. But meditation, one of the keys to help us make that shift from ego to essence. The scientists call this part of ourselves that is the true self, the ipseity. It's Ipseity, the ipseity. Who we are at birth before we receive the imprints of our culture. Who we are at birth, that pure essence. When the true intuitive self is the master of the rational mind, miracles begin to happen. We realize that our self includes not just this personal self, but all of life. Our self becomes grander and larger. This is the all-inclusive love that we talk about often, or we pray about often at the end of the service. It's a realizing that we are a multifaceted, multidimensional being, and we are much grander in scope than we realize. This separateness is an optical delusion. Our five senses throw us off on that. But when we meditate, we connect with that oneness of all life and realize the interconnection of everything. Ernest Holmes writes, "The basis of all New Thought teaching is spiritual union of all life," which is what I was just talking about. There is one substance taking different forms and shapes and becoming different things, and we all have one shared experience. We are members of the universe. We are part of each other. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his book called Plum Village Chanting and Recitation Book, writes about this perspective of our true self. I am the forest that is being cut down. I am the rivers and the air that are being polluted. And I am the person who cuts down the forest and pollutes the rivers and the air. I see myself in all species. I see all species in me. So knowing that we are one, then, why would we do anything to harm anyone or anything? So the law of circulation now makes sense, doesn't it? Because we're all one. We're all one of the one source. We receive what we give. That's the law of circulation. What is giving is also receiving, so we're also receiving as we give. By caring for our bodies, we receive health. By caring for our plants, we receive their beauty, their oxygen, and their food. By caring for each other, we receive friendship, support, community, and love. So let us remember that to care for and nurture all life with each breath, step, word, and thought, because what you bless, blesses you. So now we move into the concept of reactor or creator, which are two ways of approaching life. So think about it. Reactor and creator, they actually have the same letters in them, just in a different order. So reactor, when we come from reactive mode, we are part of the problem. We just simply perpetuate the problem when we react. An example would be, why should I do anything about the planet when all those other people over there are messing it up? Okay, that's part of what we're talking about. There's somebody down there having a good time. I think we're getting an affirmation that there's something important here for everybody to listen to. That's one of those bells, right? So the reactor is always noticing what's wrong and saying, there's nothing I can do about it. It's already gone down the hill and there's nothing I can do about it. That's reactor. Creator is part of the solution. The creator mode is what we teach here, is stepping out of reactor into creator. And when we do that, then what we become is we're open to new ideas. We become the perpetuator of new ideas, or the initiator of new ideas, new solutions, innovations. Michelle and I subscribe to something called Optimist Daily that sends emails to us on a regular basis. And it shows all of the things that are going on the planet, the innovations that are taking place to help the environment. And it really uplifts me and keeps me focused on all the possibilities. I'm not in denial of what needs to be done. I'm still doing what I need to do. But it also keeps me focused on a higher vision. So creator mode is when we use our thoughts, our words, and our actions in service to a higher vision. You could call it heaven on earth, a sustainable planet, whatever it might be. Ernest Holmes writes, man's mind should swing from inspiration to action, from prayer to performance. Let us feel that our purposes are animated and inspired from on high, and then let us go forth and make our dream come true in human existence. Our dream, not just my dream, our dream. What is our dream as a humanity? What is it that we choose to see for not only ourselves, but our children and our children's children and beyond that? So at the edge of the roof, we must cultivate a consciousness of communion with the earth. I'm talking about oneness consciousness through daily meditation. Remember what Thich Nhat Hanh said, sit, be still, and listen. Listen, sit, be still, and listen. To rewire our brain to shift from ego to essence. Choose creator mode, use the power of our thought and our word to create a new vision of an evolved humanity and a sustainable earth, a world that works for everyone, and practice mindful actions to be kind to the earth. So we have bags out there for everybody to purchase, to start using. And the thing that's nice about when they collapse into a little thing, they fit in your purse or in your back pocket. So you can't make the excuse, I left it at home or I left it in the car. It's with you.
You could put it on your keys.
On your keys, there you go. Oh, on your keys, good. We can refuse to use plastic straws. There's a lot, many of you may know about plastic straws and what they're doing to our oceans and the animals in the oceans. Styrofoam cups, we can refuse to use those. I've been doing that when I work out. And, I'm having them make me a smoothie. I said, no, I would like a paper cup, please. Or I was thinking even better would be to bring my own, which I may do next time. I find ways to reduce food waste. And also, we compost at our house. And it's really, if anybody wants to know how to compost, ask Dan. He's a master at it. And also, the importance of buying only things that we use. Being careful not to be caught up by the excitement of the moment of the buying the new thing. Really think to yourself, do I really need this? So, the final thing is to understand that there's a value and a power of being part of spiritual community that helps us grow into this state of real communion with the earth and with each other. So I'd like to end with this beautiful quote by Thich Nhat Hanh. He says, when we recognize the virtues, the talent, the beauty of Mother Earth, something is born in us, some kind of a connection. Love is born. We want to be connected. This is the meaning of love, to be at one. You would do anything for the benefit of the earth, and the earth will do anything for your well-being. And so it is.
And so it is.
Here I stand on the mountain.